and this is something which we have to get as citizens, is a deep responsibility for men and women. And we have to get rid of this victim mentalities that it's the West, it's the power, it's always someone else who is responsible of our own disasters. That's not right. The main disease internationally within the Muslim communities is this victimhood, victim mentality. We are on the defensive, it's always the others. We don't like the West, we don't like the Chinese, we don't like the Indians, we don't like them because they don't like us. So what? Wait and see. That cannot be our way. That cannot be our way. We have to stand up, understand what we are talking about, and then be a contribution. And be a contribution starts with this, that today I was talking about power behind the civil state. Remember I said we are talking about where lies power and authority. Yesterday in the nation state it was really about the state. Now we understand that we have to deal with other centers of power. And in our globalized world, at least there are two that we need to deal with. The first one is very, very critical. Because in fact, at the same time we speak about the civil state, and we don't speak about what is undermining the civil state, which is the power of economy and economic institutions. In fact, it's true that in the West, we removed religion from the power of the state. The state is autonomous from religious imposition. But the problem is that taking the seat of religion is now economic imposition that are not democratic and not at all open to our discussion. And if we are serious, you know this today in Malaysia, and you know this in the region, transnational corporations are not working on democratic rules, but interest in money, and they are imposing. So you can go for a long discussion about the civil state if you don't come to, questioning something which is, the wording are so important. I told you this at the beginning. So if I tell you, for example, today in the world, I say Islam, you know that when we say Islam, 75% of the French think about Islam as an aggressive, violent religion. So Islam is a negative word today. Islam is perceived as negative. But if you come and even in your country now and say, I am a liberal, for some Muslims it's not good. But liberal in the normative definition is positive. It means I'm a liberal, I'm open-minded, I'm a Democrat, I'm open. Now you come to the word and you try to understand what it means. And you see that depending on what liberal is defining, these are two realities. When you say liberal democracy means that you are defending individuals, freedom of expression, transparency, it's good. And democracy. But when you say liberal economy, you are defining something else, which is free market, no regulation. And you can see, in fact, that the same word doesn't mean the same thing. Liberal democracy is about human rights and democracy. Liberal economy is free market with no democracy. We don't ask for democratic decisions here. It's the rule of the power. Liberal economy is imposing onto liberal democracy some of the principles of the way the country has to be run. And if you are, like me, coming from Europe or coming from the West, you see now that the liberal democratic values are undermined by liberal economy. And the same word in two, but having different impact. Liberal economy is the free market, and some of you today, and this is one of the most important things that we have to ask, some of the Islamists, even the Muslim Brotherhood or Nahda, are coming to be acknowledged as people who are protecting the civil state, protecting the democratic process, but they are at the same time so much interested by being acknowledged as open that they go for liberal economy. We don't resist the liberal economy. We are capitalists. And if you want to be acknowledged by the West today, or some of the market, for example, coming from China, you are going to be accepted if you are Islamist and capitalist at the same time. And this is the era where we have a new kind of Islamists. They are neoliberal Islamists. And this is why the president of Tunisia told me when I was visiting him 2 months ago, he said, you know what, the problem that I have with some Islamists is not that they are referring to Islam. The problem that I have with them is that they are now capitalists. They are liberal. They want to take from the American institutions, the American economic model, and they are not resisting to this. And we, as Muslims, if we want to put ethics in politics, we also have to put ethics in economy. Right. I don't buy anything which has to do with Islamic economy, Islamic finance. I'm quite critical. But there is something that I know, that the economic order that is killing 105,000 people per day out of injustice is not what God is expecting from us. I cannot buy this. So I can run for a civil state, but if this civil state is under the opposition of economic forces, and I'm not resisting, only obsessed by showing that religion is not there, but economic imposition is there, I'm not going to buy this. I'm not going to follow that. We need to come to a civil state based on ethics in politics and ethics in economy. What is the contribution of the Malaysian thinkers, the Malaysian politicians, to come with something which is resisting the order, the economic order, and what is going to be the contribution from the Islamists in Tunisia or in Egypt or anywhere in the world as to how do we deal with this economic order? Are we going to just be supporting the civil state and accepting that the economic powers are imposing onto us systems that are killing people, that are not helping us to get social justice within? You want an example? You want an example which is very practical with what you are doing now? You know, in the global world today, money is going very fast, but also migrants. The global order is when people are poor, they are migrating. In your region today, the relationship that you have with Indonesia is a relationship where now many Indonesians are coming into your country. Why? Because it's economic survival. They might get more money and more protected here in economic terms than there. You can now just sit and say, we have a civil state, there are rules, and you criminalize them. And you can think about social justice. You can think about an order that is also helping the people in economic terms. If you are just going for civil state with our principles and you are not respecting the dignity of the migrants, what is your take on humanity? Are you just Democrats for yourself? Are you just for yourself? And now you are ready to treat people the way they are treated? While I think that it's very important to get it right. A civil state based on principles and ethical principles should deal with migrants because we deal with economic terms, economic parameters, economic realities that are now creating disparities within our region. And we need to deal with this. I'm sorry, if I am an Indonesian migrant in your society, I can just tell you there is something wrong in the way you deal with humanity. There is something wrong with the way you deal with justice and dignity. There is something wrong in not only the political terms, but the way you refuse to assess the economic injustices in our region. So this is where you have to be involved. So a civil state should be and should show concerns about the economic reality. Second point, which is important and complexify the whole process, is communication and media. You have now power that are controlling media, and this is the reality in your country for a long time. Which, by the way, there is no civil state if there is no media transparency and freedom.